Chapter 2 for Toriel's Lament. Toriel dreamed in her sleep. She was back at the underground ruins cleaning things up for her child who, she thought, was waiting at the room she told the child to wait in. She was currently in the process of making some pie for the child, a butterscotch cinnamon pie to be exact. Earlier she called to ask what the child preferred, butterscotch or cinnamon. The child said cinnamon, and soon Toriel hung up, only to call back seconds later to ask if the child was okay with butterscotch, but soon backed out of the thought. "Pie should be ready in 30 minutes, she said to herself. "I believe I've gotten everything else cleared up." She did a last-minute check in her head and nodded with a smirk. "All there is to do is to wait, I suppose." She felt a sudden chill creep up her spine. Toriel turned around and saw her child standing before her with an odd expression. "How did you—" She paused as she noticed to her horror the child was riddled with blood splatters. There were cuts and bruises all over the child, but they didn't seem fazed in the slightest. The child looked happy, as a matter of fact. Child," Toriel muttered uneasily. "What happened? Why are you covered in blood?" The child let out a giggle as they pounced Toriel all of a sudden. "Prove yourself to me." Toriel heard her own voice roar in her head as she hit the floor with the child on top of her. The child had her by the throat and squeezed intently as their smile grew bigger. Toriel struggled to let out a word as her aorta closed up. All she could utter was a gasp as she tried prying the child off of her. Oddly, though, the child's strength was greater than hers. Try as she must, the child wasn't budging, but their grip tightened. Toriel began losing strength. Her arms laid back slowly as her eyes moved upward. Her face was turning blue as she could only utter a low gasp. Child," she uttered before waking up. She sat up immediately, gasping for air. She brought her hands to her throat. She rubbed it with terror as she rocked back and forth with hysteria. "Why did I have a dream such as that? Was my child trying to tell me something?" She cringed next as her wound had opened up. The door opened and in came Toriel. He carried with him a tray of foods. Apples, carrots, mangoes, wheat and oats, along with some bread and a cup of water. It didn't take long for him to notice the state Toriel was in. He carefully set the tray aside and comforted her. He asked what happened and gave Toriel time to explain. When he heard her story, he seemed more worried than frightened, but his stoic face made it hard to see. "You're probably in guilt," he suggested. "I've had plenty of dreams like that, so I know what you're going through." He placed a reassuring hand over Toriel's shoulder. "They'll stop if you move on," he said simply. Toriel wasn't sure what Toriel was going on about. Nothing he said made the least bit of sense to her, but she was reassured when she felt his hand come over her. "I'll try my best," she said in a shaky tone. Toriel pulled away. He showed a soft smile as he brought up the tray he came with. "Some of my brothers and sisters made this for you," he explained. "They're all hoping you can recover fast so they can show you around." "Show me around where?" Toriel asked as she went for the carrots. "I don't know, somewhere," Toriel replied blatantly as he took a slice of mango from the tray that was meant for Toriel. Toriel raised a brow as she was both unsure how to respond and offended by Toriel's rudeness. "Well, I'm feeling okay today, so maybe I can walk around a little?" she said awkwardly. She had forgotten her wound was open at the moment. "Sounds good," Toriel replied as he stood up. "I'm going to get something. Be right back." He went and came back with some gauze and a brown vial. "I need you to lift your gown up." Toriel nearly choked as her face reddened. "Excuse me?" she scolded disgustedly. "What?" Toriel looked unfazed. "I'm going to change your wraps. You're bleeding right now." Toriel went blank for a moment. "Oh, I thought you were... Never mind." She removed the bed covers and lifted her robe just past the wrapping of gauze on her side that were a deep blood red at the moment. She carefully watched Toriel go to work on her side. She made sure there was no funny business going on between Cerulean and her. Cerulean could easily read Toriel's face as he doused her wound with the brown vial. Foam bubbles sizzled out of Toriel's side as she cringed with discomfort. "I'm married, Toriel," he said flat out as he started patting her wound dry. "I ain't got a reason to get a peek." Toriel's eyes widened. "It's not like I was... You were rather bold. We're not even the same species." "Ada Griffin told me that before," Cerulean argued as he began applying the new gauze. "Funny thing is she came on to me." Toriel gasped with disgust and remained silent for the remainder of the time. When Cerulean finished, he left Toriel to herself for the moment. He took the dirty gauze with him as he left. "Unbelievable. The nerve of that creature," she grumbled as she took a big bite out of her carrot. She finished the carrots rather quickly and left the other foods alone. It's not that they didn't appeal to her. The carrots filled her up nicely. When Cerulean returned, Toriel flashed a small glare at him. This didn't faze Cerulean in the slightest as he sat down next to her. "Looks like there's no infection in your wound," he explained. "The bleeding seems to have gone down, but that nightmare you had reopened the wound. Other than that, you should recover quickly. You would be out of here faster if any of us were healers." "What do you mean?" "A lot of us know the traditional healing methods," Cerulean explained, "but not many of us can use healing magic. Magic resides within us all. It's all around the world. The air, the earth, the trees, the wind. All of that has some magic in them, and only knights can use it. Of course there are wizards and mages, but they're knights as well." "That makes sense," Toriel replied. "If anyone could cast magic at will, the whole world would be in shambles. It's only fair to learn how to use it because you have to earn it." Cerulean's ears perked up with interest. "You seem pretty passionate about this. You a magic user?" "Flame mage," Toriel corrected. "I use fire-based magic. I have studied it when I was just a child. Fire is rather difficult to handle even with my skill. The most I could do was conjure up a few flames and launch them at an enemy." Cerulean took note on that. "I have a teacher who thinks I have a lot of potential. He says I could be a light and dark manipulator, but he's not too sure. There are more elemental wizards and mages than light and dark ones. In fact, none have ever been able to use both." "Sounds like you might make history someday," encouraged Toriel. Her glare was gone now. She was fully immersed in this conversation. "Care to show me what you know?" Cerulean bit his lip. "I don't know much, but..." He put his hands out and closed his eyes. He took in a deep breath and concentrated. Toriel waited with bated breath as she watched Cerulean give life to a dark orb that emitted a bright light. She gasped with awe as she smiled excitedly. "How beautiful!" she cheered. Cerulean took in another breath and let the orb slowly fade away. Once it was gone, he rubbed his head with discomfort. "Still not used to that, but what do you think?" "That was amazing!" Toriel shouted. "You truly have great potential." She didn't notice due to her excitement, but at the moment Cerulean's eyes were darker than normal, as if they were going hollow. As Toriel went on about how astonished she was, Cerulean's eyes returned to normal as his face was flustered by the wave of encouragement he received from Toriel. She went on for what seemed like hours about how Cerulean could put his magic to good use if he masters it. The only problem was she was listing the problems in her world. Toriel didn't realize this until the end when she said Cerulean could possibly destroy the barrier and free the monsters. That's when she came to a slow pause as she lowered her head. "That's right. I'm no longer in the underground. I'm in Lost Hope." Cerulean frowned as he watched the emotion drain away in Toriel's face. "Hey, come on," he sympathized. "It's not all bad here. Don't let the name fool you. This is 100 times better than the White Realm, and that's where the normal ones live." He laughed. "Honestly, they're all jerks, and their king? You would think he's all kind and regal, but in fact he's a racist douche. The last time I talked to him, I gave him a full moon." Toriel's eyes lit up. "What?" "Just kidding," Cerulean reassured. "I'm trying to make you laugh, alright?" I don't like seeing people down, no matter who they are. He stood up and offered a hand to Toriel. Enough chit-chat. My daughter is dying to meet you. Toriel was unsure as she took Cerulean's hand. She slowly arose from her bed and steadied herself. Her side ached, but she did not show it. She gestured to Cerulean to lead the way. Cerulean followed so. All the while, he never let Toriel's hand go as it comforted him. He wasn't too familiar with this odd feeling, but he was enjoying this bond that was forming. Alright, that's the end of chapter 2. Hope you guys liked it. It's not much how things progress, but I do want to clear some things up. I'm starting to see that, like, whenever I'm like not writing my story and I'm just thinking about it, I tend to have different scenes in my head, and it's really hard for me to write whenever I have multiple scenes going through my head. So I figured I'd do this. Like, you know, I'll write a chapter, but afterwards, if there's a part that I think could be better, like that could be changed and whatnot, I'll change that part, but I won't change it to the original. I'll like write down the part that I want to change on a different piece of paper or on a different Microsoft Word, and read that off, and I'm gonna start calling this like possible scenes or possible endings and such, because I do have like a few scenes for later on for like whenever this battle happens, and there could be like it could end one way and then end the other way, and I might show both ways or not. We'll have to see, but I feel like this will give me more closure to the story, because I'd be able to choose what feels right. I won't just have to settle down for one option, because that's really impossible for me. Like, even with the stories I've written back then, I still think of new ways to write it. And it drives me nuts that, like, I can't really change it anymore because it's already as good as it can get. But I'm like, but what if this scene would be better with this? And, you know, it just drives me crazy. But other than that, depending on when this video comes out, there might be the revised version of the intro might already be out, like uploaded, but we'll have to see. And to further news, I'm going to try to create an account on AO3, which is a, I don't know what it is exactly. I think it's a fanfic site that you can post stories on. And I was suggested to this by someone in the fandom, so I won't say who yet, but I'm thanking you for the heads up. You know who you are, and I appreciate that that you went through the trouble to give me a site to post my stories on. But for now, that's going to be all for now, everyone. I don't know when chapter 3 is going to be out. Currently in the process of writing it. I just started it, and it's going to be a little more interesting. You're going to meet oh wait, no, I'm on chapter 4 now, but chapter 3 will hopefully be posted soon, not like too long, maybe into the next month of May, we'll see, or maybe into the late of this month, we'll have to see. Wait, it's March. Okay, so sorry, I'm bad at keeping track on things, but chapter 3 might be posted later in March, or maybe in the beginning of April, or in the middle of April. That's the timeline that I'm setting for it. But we'll have to see. But in chapter 3, you're going to start meeting more of my characters. And I won't post any main characters. I won't try to post as many main characters as I can. I'll be posting a lot of my side characters, so the characters that you'll be like, you know, hearing and eventually reading, those aren't like, you know, the main characters. Those are just side characters. But they are main characters in their own story. And I'm hoping you guys will like them. They have interesting personalities. That's all I can say. And they're a pretty funny group together. But we'll have to see. As for chapter 4, that's when things are going to get a little more interesting. It's not going to be like too drastic or anything, but it'll definitely be interesting because I'm currently planning it out, but the way things are going, it's gonna probably take a turn for weird, I guess. I don't know. Interesting at most. Well, to me, we'll have to see what you guys think. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. So leave a like and comment if you enjoyed this chapter. Subscribe to help my channel grow. Give me some thoughts on what you thought of this. Like, did you like it? Did you not? Whatnot? I'm open to criticism. Don't worry. But, like, don't be an asshole about it. Like, yeah, you can say, like, I didn't really like this part, but don't be like, why the fuck are you wasting your life on this? You should not write. And stuff like that, but what I'm trying to say is just don't be an asshole, okay? Don't be like that one guy off of America Got Talent, I guess? I don't know. That one guy who was a major asshole to everyone. I don't really watch that show, but all I know is that guy was an asshole. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video. And thank you for listening to this.